Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today. So today I'm going to discuss a little bit more about the Kalachakra. And in this case, I'm going to be talking about less that operating structure, if you will, at the macro level, and going a little bit more into the micro level. So when you get when I basically had my enlightenment experience, at that time, I basically had experienced the Kalachakra. One of the views, if you will, because you get different views, right? You see everything from different perspectives, is you actually see all the systems, if you want. You see everything is a system, right? Everything exists within a code that governs this construct within this program in which we exist, right? And this is without going higher than that, okay? So one of the views you can have is all the systems and how the systems move, right? Basically, on the grid. So the grid is another view that I had during Enlightenment. So the grid, basically, you're looking at all the systems moving through these tunnels, if you will, which are basically these pathways, right, for movement, okay? And they're trying to get to a different location. So one of the things you can kind of think about is, someone who's doing their daily activities, they're moving, how to bring that to the physical world, looking at it, okay? They're going through their activities, they're taking certain paths, right? They're making certain turns based on where other things are. That'll influence what direction they can turn into, right? If there's someone, it'll, traffic will influence, the speed, for example, of their movement. It might even influence what path they're going to take. When you're driving in a car, kind of almost think about it like that, like a city looked at from the top. When you're seeing the grids of movement, right? And basically the streets are almost like pathways, right? So it's normal that in the physical manifestation of this would be commonly seen, right? So at that point, and that also applies to concepts outside of cities, but cities is an easy way of seeing it. So what you see at the grid level, and this relates to the Kalachakra mandala, right? And what you see there too is I've explained how you see that golden cube, if you will, right? That golden cube, which is in essence, you could say a system, right? Or an entity, right? A separate entity that exists within the Kalachakra. And that's basically moving around as you do stuff during your daily day and all that, right? You move through tunnels, right? At that level. And you're basically going through pathways, right? To reach to your destination, right? So at that point, it speaks a lot, that, in a sense, you've learned how to navigate the Kalachakra at that sense. Like we learn how to grow up and cross the street when it's clear, and when it's not clear, not cross, and I'll learn how to basically make those movements and those calculations, and not have that understanding. But one of the what you see here is, for example, if you look at the Kalachakra mandala, you know, understanding that we're looking at a tunnel with cubes moving in. Visualize many cubes, each following each other and moving, one behind the other in a sense, right? And that's that place within time, you know. So what you have is you have cubes moving through these tunnels, okay? And what you're seeing when you're looking at the different colors, okay, I've explained how the openings on each side of the tunnel, okay, and you can see there's different openings because the tunnel goes in the mandala, right? I've discussed how you look at the mandala, what you're seeing really a 3D, a tunnel, and the cube that's moving through that tunnel, okay, which representing a system. So basically, at that point, what you have is you have that system, if you will, moving through that tunnel, right? Because these are the movements that are basically governed by our lives, by what we do and all that, right? If you're moving towards the center, you're not necessarily making a delivery for food at a specific location at a specific time. If you're doing that, you're following a specific path, right? So basically, and you have understanding of what you've experienced, right, or what you can, or what you're in proximity to, and as you push out in a sense experience. So at this point, what you have here, that was just a side note. What you're really looking at here, in a sense, is you have different colors, okay, colors on these different openings. Oh, I'm talking specifically to the ones that are on the sides of the cubes, right, in a cubic shape. So you have those four openings. At each time there's an opening. What you're seeing basically right there is you're seeing a hub, basically. You're seeing basically a point where things take movement, okay, within the systems level of seeing things. So at that point, what you see the colors, and what the colors actually represent. So I'm just looking at one version right here. It has red, yellow, blue, and black, right? So what you're looking at this point here is you're actually looking at different options where you can turn. Okay, right? So where you can take a turn out of that tunnel and go somewhere else. Now, basically down another path. So, and eventually you can get to a stationary spot or something like that. So basically what you're looking at, the color coding, what it means, okay? And until you've experienced this, it's difficult to really get this understanding, okay? But what you're basically seeing is visualize all these systems that are moving down these tunnels, okay? And every time they get to an intersection, they can potentially continue on that tunnel that they were on, okay? Or they can take a turn into another tunnel, okay? So at that point, what do you have, okay, is you have permissions, okay? So what you're looking at is the color coding right there is different permissions. So depending what permissions you have, it determines what tunnel you can take. So if you have a specific permission as a system, you know, like a specific permission that's been granted to you that you have, you can take a different level of tunnel. Okay, so for example, you have, for example, um, like the red one, for example, you know, and then you have the blue one, the black one, the yellow one. So basically, eventually, you can get to that point where you get full permissions and you can take the shortcut tunnels if you want. Okay, so that's basically what that means as far as that, right? And when we're talking about shortcuts, we're basically talking about different elements here, you know, so shortcuts for things and stuff like that. So we're working at a higher level of basically programming and calculating the world around us. So I'm allowed granted permissions into tunnels that no one else are allowed granted permission into, right? Because it's priority pathing. So you have systems, you know, okay, they're approved to take the blue, they take the blue exit. You know, systems that are approved to take another, depending on the priority of the system, you know. Yeah. So, anyways, I thought, sorry for all the gesticulating. I was kind of looking at a mandala, kind of going over that. So that's it. You know, you have the priorities. Basically, when the systems navigate through that infrastructure where systems navigate through, basically, and everybody's in a sense a system, you know, but we're all individuals too, you know. Let's not forget that, and we're good people when we choose to be, and let's not forget that too, right? So what you have there is exactly, you have basically the Kalachakra mandala. You're looking at the visualization of the system view, right? So that's why I was listening to a video on YouTube. YouTube's great. Someone explaining the Kalachakra, and I'm like, yeah, I would have liked to have this conversation with you right now. It's pretty cool stuff, you know. And yeah, so looking at priorities, so those different colors when you have the systems view, that's why the Kalachakra is such an advanced mandala, because it's showing you basically the systems view and the Kalachakra view of creation in a representation that's been designed, right? So by meditating on that and getting an understanding of that, you know what I mean? Talk about forwarding your practice. So yeah, so that's it. So that's those colors represent priorities. So for example, imagine a little force field that stops a system from going in one direction. Okay, if they're not color coded to that direction, right? So I just wanted to share that. So thanks for listening, everyone.